right, Gator Nation, welcome back to the Gator Nation podcast. I'm your GNP, Gator Nation Principal Moten, and I'm thrilled to have as my guest today our reigning Teacher of the Year, Mr. Joe Brandt. And I think I've said that before. Mr. Brandt, you were voted as Teacher of the Year last year.
That's correct.
I think we've gone through this before, right?
I think so. It's been so long, it sometimes feels like deja vu, but yeah, I think there was another time when I went through the gauntlet.
Okay. Well, Mr. Brandt, you currently serve as our Family and Consumer Science teacher. And so for a lot of our former Gators, they may be going, what? Yeah. Family and Consumer Science?
Everybody I meet does that.
So talk to us about how Mr. Brandt, renowned science teacher, is now Mr. Brandt, the Family and Consumer Science teacher.
Well, one of the things I kept running into year after year in my class, like we'd be getting ready for map testing, or we'd be getting ready for, people getting concerned about the grades towards the end of a semester, was just dealing with some of the basic life skills of being able to set a goal, being able to monitor behavior, being able to choose how you want to live. And I would incorporate that to what I was doing. And when the opportunity came up, I realized going to consumer science, instead of teaching 105 kids a year, I can get upwards of 400 kids a year. Over the course of 3 years, I can touch almost every student in the school, all 3 grade levels, and hopefully have like a bigger impact on the school at large. The other thing I was running into was, if you look at home ec content, it's really the same stuff I was doing in 7th grade back in 1983. So it seems like it needed a little bit of an update. So we're focusing on a lot more like personal skills, life skills like time management, priority management, communication skills, and then the hands-on part, like I got a plumber donating a mobile sink, so we're going to learn how to clear a P-trap, we're going to learn how to repair drywall, maintain a lawnmower, and if you still want to do sewing a pillow, you can sew a pillow, and then we're going to bust those kitchens wide open here in about a week and a half.
Awesome. So why was that important to you to, I'm just thinking about your experiences as a man, as a teacher, as someone who identified a specific need for multiple students. Why was it important to you to develop that and utilize that in your curriculum?
Previous career as a manager in a Fortune 100 company for about 20 years, and those basic foundational skills that I think we kind of have gotten away from in the name of testing and achievement, those are really the core skills that allow you to be successful on testing, on anything you're doing. And we had a hard time finding employees that could self-regulate and make a goal and make a plan and then achieve it. So if we can hit it now when they're in middle school and they can take that with them through high school, then me and talking with even other related arts teachers, if we can feed the programs at the ATC so these kids are ready to go out into the workforce effectively upon getting that high school degree, then we're doing the right thing now. It's kind of like you say, if you want to be a good reader, you got to start in 3rd grade. If you want to be productive and have an agency over your own life, you got to start that in 7th grade.
Okay, so early on, how have you engaged your students to be thinkers?
So we started right off the bat. They're making this book. Here's a good one. They're making these. They're making their own workbook as we go. And each page kind of touches on something about your own agency. So there's a page on metacognition. There's a big thing called the Feynman technique, where Dr. Richard Feynman, who was on the Manhattan Project, did this. He would take a complicated idea, break it down over and over and over until it was so simple he could explain it to anybody. If you can do that, then you know it. And that's applicable to test questions. That's applicable to when you're trying to work through content you don't understand. Currently, this week, we're working on tracking grades. So every week, they're going to be looking at what is their grade, what do they want it to be, what are the tactics they're going to use to support their strategy. So again, we're talking very corporate level management processes, but taken down to an attainable level for a kid.
And I've actually seen you do that in your science classroom, where students are learning, and to ensure that they're learning, you ask them to break it down to you and talk to you as if you're talking to a 3rd grader.
Absolutely.
And so it's nice to see that that's carrying over to the Family and Consumer Sciences. Talk to us about a particularly memorable teaching moment or an experience that has had a lasting impact on you as a teacher.
Wow. I mean, you get them a lot. The trick with something like that is a specific time. I think would be when I've had a teacher come to me that I don't work with, recognizing what we're doing based on the skills of that student. So, for example, using that Feynman technique and talking about, like, there's a literary thing, the hero's journey, and we're using those to help students try new things and then approach problems in a new way. And it was when I was a science teacher, having my ELA teacher come across and be like, what are you teaching? Because they're talking about my content in my class, but they learned it in your class, because it's just a universal way of solving a problem or understanding a problem. And that was with Miss Velarde 2 years in a row. She was like, keep doing it. I don't know what you're doing. Keep doing it.
That's awesome. So how do you balance the demands of teaching with your personal life and self-care?
So I'm fortunate, I guess, that, we're empty nesters now, and, my wife gets a lot of satisfaction out of her job, so that provides me with a little time on the side. But I've also got a rule that if I'm taking it home with me, I'm doing it wrong. And it goes back to what I'm teaching these kids. If you say that you don't have enough time, you don't have enough planning time, the question really is, how are you using that time? So having a solid plan that's flexible, having repeated processes and repeated tactics, so I know that it's easy to do the same thing every day, whether it's taking attendance or producing content for this book. I've already got a rhythm behind that. And then being flexible enough that when you get the opportunity to do something super cool, like be on this podcast, it's easy to move a piece out of the way and get involved. I try to avoid as much downtime as possible, because people think that downtime like re-energizes you, and it doesn't. That's where you put your time wasters. That's where you start, instead of exploring solutions, you start getting fixated on problems. And I really think that's when you got the real opportunity to get the most work done.
All right. So one last question for you. You've done a lot in such a short amount of time here at Dutchman Creek. I think many of us will look around our campus and we'll see things like the Hammock Village. We'll see the plants on the outside of the atrium. We see lots of things that Mr. Joe Brandt has had his hands involved in as far as what we have going on here at the Creek. So what would you want your legacy as a Dutchman Creek Gator to be? How do you want to be remembered?
I feel like I've done it right if when I walk away, it still happens. I was just talking with Mr. Taylor just now, who's in the Gator space this week, and I think it's only the second or third time he's ever used it. And he was able to go in, sign up for it. He knew where all the materials were. He knew exactly how to use it. He was just touching base with me to make sure there wasn't something new that he didn't know. And when that happens without me, then I know I did it right. That's legacy.
Gosh, I can remember us. I remember coming to you and say, "Hey, we got $500. We got to make a makerspace."
Mm-hmm. That was several $500 ago.
But we made it work, and the Gator space is rocking and rolling. Mr. Brandt, thank you so much for your time. I can't say enough about your impact on the Dutchman Creek school community, the Rock Hill schools community as a whole. You're an amazing person, first and foremost, and that comes out in the classroom as a teacher and as a colleague and as a friend of all of us here at Dutchman Creek. So we appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time. We got one last thing that I need for you to do.
Okay. I
need for you to ramp it up and give us your absolute best. Go Gators.
Go Gators.